Have you ever felt afraid of something that never happened? A meeting you feared for weeks that ended up being postponed, a judgment you imagined from others that never came, a what-if that kept you awake at night and then just faded into nothing. Most of our fears aren't real. They're projections, stories the mind tells itself over and over, like a film stuck on replay. Spinoza understood this centuries ago. For him, fear wasn't a demon or a weakness. It was simply a misalignment between what we desire and what we understand. When we fear, we create a gap between ourselves and reality. We resist what is, and in that resistance, we suffer. Let's be honest. How many of your worst fears actually happened? And even when they did, weren't they often less painful than you imagined? Here's the core idea. We don't suffer because of what happens, but because of how we interpret it. That's what this journey is about. Not about avoiding fear, but dissolving it through understanding. Because Spinoza believed there's a single thought that can transform the way you see everything. And once you see it, fear loses its grip. Let's go deeper. Baruch Spinoza was born in 1632 in the heart of Amsterdam into a devout Jewish community. From a young age, he asked too many questions, not the kind that seek simple answers, but the kind that shake foundations and demand deeper inquiry. He questioned the nature of God, the purpose of rituals, and the limits of human authority. He wasn't trying to rebel. He was trying to understand what lies beneath the surface of belief. But understanding can be dangerous in places where dogma rules. At the age of 23, he was excommunicated, banished, cut off completely from his family, his friends, his entire world. His name was erased from every sacred list. He became a ghost to those who once knew him. Most people would collapse under that kind of isolation. Spinoza transformed it into clarity. He chose a life of solitude, not out of bitterness, but out of purpose. He became a lens grinder, spending his days polishing glass and his nights refining thought, examining not just light but the inner mechanics of the human mind and soul. Through silence, he heard more clearly. Through loss, he gained perspective. And out of that quiet, a revolutionary idea was born. The path to freedom is not in controlling life, but in understanding it. This was not a man chasing fame or followers. This was someone who saw the universe as one single, interconnected system, where everything has its reason and every fear, every joy, every decision has a cause that can be traced. Let's look at that system now. For Spinoza, God was not a being who watches from above, makes choices, or rewards and punishes. God was not a person at all. God was nature itself, the totality of everything that exists. The wind, the stars, your heartbeat, your thoughts. In his words, God is the immanent cause of all things, not a ruler outside the universe, but the very essence of it. This means everything is connected, every thought, every event, every feeling, part of a single infinite chain of cause and effect. You don't feel afraid by accident. You don't fall in love by chance. Even your beliefs, your memories, your impulses, all of them arise from previous causes, like ripples in a vast ocean. This view is called determinism, the idea that nothing happens without a reason, and nothing could have happened differently. It sounds radical. It removes the traditional idea of free will, but Spinoza didn't see this as limiting. He saw it as a key, a way out of suffering, because if everything has a cause, then our pain is not mysterious, our fear is not random, our confusion is not permanent. We just have to look closer, and that's where real freedom begins. Imagine you're on a boat in the middle of the ocean. You believe you're steering it, choosing your direction, but beneath the surface, invisible currents, winds, tides, storms from long ago are guiding your path without your awareness. This is how Spinoza saw human life. We think we're in control, but much of what we feel, believe, and do is shaped by forces we didn't choose. Childhood experiences, cultural conditioning, inherited trauma, unconscious habits, even the timing of our birth. And here's the paradox. Realizing this doesn't imprison us, it liberates us. Why? Because we stop blaming ourselves for what we never consciously chose. We stop hating our fear, our sadness, our compulsions. Instead, we begin to understand them as outcomes of causes, not signs of weakness or failure. If you didn't choose your fear, then maybe you can stop feeling ashamed of it. Maybe you can meet it with curiosity instead of resistance. Spinoza believed that once we recognize the true origins of our emotions, we gain power, not by controlling them through force, but by no longer being ruled by them blindly. When we understand the current, we can navigate with more awareness, more peace. This isn't surrender. It's a shift from struggling against what is to aligning with it, from reacting unconsciously to acting with clarity and intention. Freedom for Spinoza is not the absence of influence, it's the presence of deep understanding. Why do we suffer? Spinoza believed the answer is surprisingly simple. We suffer when reality doesn't match our expectations. Think about it. You expected someone to stay, and they left. You expected success, and you failed. You imagined ease, and faced hardship. The pain doesn't come from the event itself, but from the gap between what you hoped for and what happened. And that gap is created by the mind. Spinoza didn't tell us to repress our emotions. He told us to examine them, to trace them back to their causes and transform them with the power of reason. Because the mind, when used clearly, is not the enemy of emotion. It's its guide. Take this example. You don't get the job you wanted. One interpretation says, "I'm not good enough." Another says, "There must be something else more aligned with me." Same event, two radically different emotions. The shift doesn't come from changing reality. It comes from changing your lens. Spinoza's most famous quote captures this beautifully. "I have striven not to laugh at human actions, not to weep at them, nor to hate them, but to understand them." When you understand something, truly understand it, it loses its power to wound you in the same way. Understanding turns fear into insight, pain into perspective, chaos into order, and that's where real transformation begins. Now that we've explored the foundation of Spinoza's thought, let's bring it down to earth. How do we actually use this to dissolve fear and live with more peace, clarity, and freedom? Here are 3 steps, rooted in Spinoza's ethics, that you can begin practicing today. Step 1. Observe your emotions without judgment. When fear shows up, don't push it away, don't fight it, just observe. Say to yourself, "This is fear, it's not good or bad, it's a signal." Ask, "Is this a real threat or a habit of the mind?" Most of our fear is not about the present. It's a memory, a projection, a conditioned response. Naming it is the first step to loosening its grip. Step 2. Use reason to reframe the experience. Once you've observed the emotion, start asking questions. Where did it come from? What triggered it? Is this fear rooted in fact or in interpretation? Spinoza believed that every emotion, once understood through its cause, loses its power to dominate us. When you replace reaction with reflection, the emotional storm begins to settle. Try this. Take a fear and trace it back. What are its roots? Where did it begin? Often, what felt like an overwhelming truth turns out to be just a story. Step 3. Accept what cannot be changed. There is tremendous freedom in letting go of control. We spend so much energy resisting what is, but Spinoza teaches us that peace comes not from force, but from alignment with reality. Acceptance is not weakness, it's wisdom. When you stop trying to change the unchangeable, you open space for calm, clarity, and focused action on what you can influence. Practice these steps regularly. They are not magic tricks. They are mental habits, rooted in centuries of tested wisdom, and the more you apply them, the more natural they become. The goal isn't to erase fear completely. The goal is to understand it so deeply that it loses its ability to control you. Spinoza never craved recognition. He didn't chase popularity, nor did he seek followers. He lived in quiet anonymity, writing for a future he would never see, trusting that truth, when spoken clearly, would echo through time without needing applause. But his philosophy has outlived kings, creeds, and institutions, because it speaks to something timeless, something eternal in the human condition. We all carry fear. We all wrestle with what we cannot control. We all ask the same silent questions. Why do I suffer? Why do I feel powerless? Is there a way out of this storm? Spinoza didn't offer superstition or sentimental escape. He offered structure, a precise, grounded path from confusion to clarity, from chaos to coherence, from emotional slavery to intellectual freedom. He believed that true peace isn't the absence of hardship, it's the presence of understanding. Now, you stand at a crossroads. You can keep living dominated by your expectations, illusions, assumptions, and fear. Or you can begin to look differently at what happens to you. You can stop trying to dominate life and instead begin to understand it. You can start asking, what caused this feeling? What does it reveal about the way I perceive the world? What if this discomfort isn't punishment, but a pattern, a message, a moment of awakening? That's the shift. That's the one thought Spinoza offers. You are not here to control life. You are here to understand it. And in that understanding, fear dissolves. Not all at once, but slowly, deeply, like fog lifting under the calm light of morning. Because fear cannot survive where truth is seen clearly, and peace does not come from certainty. It comes from coherence. If this message resonated with you, if a part of you feels lighter, clearer, or simply more awake, subscribe to this channel. Here we don't escape reality. We face it with courage, with clarity, and with a philosophy that teaches us how to truly live. Because the truth is simple. Suffering doesn't come from reality. It comes from how we interpret it. And interpretation is a choice, a quiet, powerful act of freedom, one that belongs to you, always.